I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this is Outside My Window. Mile East Productions was proud to once again partner with the Yarmouth Rotary Club to produce and present the 2022 Yarmouth Spring Living Show. As the event's charitable partner, you would have seen Rotary Club members out in full force during the entire show, making sure visitors had a great experience.
Now, first up, Gary took an opportunity to speak with the president of the Yarmouth Rotary Club, Rebecca Cassidy Rose, about her experiences with Rotary and the challenges of operating a service club during COVID times.
I've been in Rotary in Yarmouth for 8 to 9 years now. I'm the current president. Our presidency, our executive positions are 2-year positions. We changed that because we decided that with 1-year positions, we were really just getting our skills in place by the time we were turning it over, and it seemed like an awfully ineffective way to operate a service club. So I'm coming to the end of my 2 years. It's not been the easiest one with COVID. It's been very difficult to keep the club together. We are really excited by the opportunities to get our membership to re-engage in the community. But we are actually entering in our 100th year for Rotary Club in Yarmouth. We got our charter in 1922 and have been meeting at the Grand Hotel, with the exception of COVID, every week or at the Grand since 1922. It's a fantastic history to have. We still continue to do a number of projects in the community. The largest one that we maintained during COVID was Meals on Wheels, which is an essential service to the vulnerable sector in our community. And instead of being able to be run by volunteers, we actually had to facilitate hiring somebody to do that. And it was easier to keep control of contact tracing and to maintain the wellness of the people in our Meals on Wheels program through having to pay for that position. We were able to secure some funding for it, but the reality is it was a much more expensive program to run with an employee than it would have been through volunteers like we did before. So we're taking advantage of the fact that things are opening back up, and we're trying to do some of the fundraising drives that we would have been doing over the 2 years. We're trying to kind of get our feet back into that now. And so what we have for our 100th year anniversary is we have a travel ticket for $100. And that travel ticket is a fantastic opportunity if you like to travel. If you don't want to get the money if you don't want to go on the trip, you can also take the cash prize. And so what happens is for the $100, you have 6 opportunities to win a large trip. The trips range everything from Cayo Coco in Cuba to the grand finale of the Italian holiday guided vacation. So the trips are drawn, so 1 trip every month. In addition to that, there are 4 draws every month for $100. So you can get literally the cost of your ticket back. If you win, your ticket goes back in. And so you literally have 30 chances to win with your $100 purchase. So this is an endeavor that we put together with 2 other Rotary clubs because, let's face it, we all need to partner to make good things happen. And Rotary has an international partnership as well as, our own local initiatives. And so we've partnered up with Halifax and New Minas. And so we are all selling tickets. There is a limit of 1,000 tickets to be sold total. And there's a way to register the sales per club. And so if, for example, Yarmouth sells 40% of the tickets, we are going to reap 40% of the profits that can go back into our local community and our local endeavors. So we would be continuing to get money into the Meals on Wheels program, some of our scholarship programs. We're looking at trying to reinitiate some of our youth mental health support programs, which are things that had to get put on pause because of COVID. So so if you like to travel or if you like to support your Rotary Club, you can call me, Rebecca, at 902-748-1097, or you can email me at yarmouthnsrotary@gmail.com. And so the NS is important because there are actually 4 Yarmouth Rotary Clubs. There's one in Maine, one in Massachusetts, one in the UK, but the one that we want is Nova Scotia. So that's yarmouthnsrotary@gmail.com.
Rebecca, have you been getting people here to your display, at your booth here at the Yarmouth Living Show? Just coming by and saying, "Hey, what's this all about?" Maybe they've not heard about it. Is there more of a vested interest now on part of the, if I can use the term, general public?
It's actually interesting that you mentioned that, because to me, Rotary has been part of the community for so long, and I've been involved with it for so long. I was commenting to someone the other day that I remember working here at the arena, at the old canteen, which used to be the Rotary canteen because the Rotary Club had purchased some of the equipment in it. And I was in band, and band was sponsored by Rotary. And so if you were in band, you were expected to run and work at that canteen over the exhibition. So I find it interesting that there are still so many people. Rotary's been in our community for 100 years, and there are still a lot of people that don't know about us. But we have had people. We've got a great booth. We've got lots of space here. Mile East Productions has been very generous in terms of putting this fundraiser together with us. It's fantastic. We help them out with the operations. They also support us with the providing a booth for us, and it creates a lot of visibility. And we've had people stop and say, "Hey, what is Rotary Club?" We didn't even know it was still in operation. We thought that maybe it had folded during COVID, but we're getting a lot of younger people more interested, which is what we need. Every community needs that volunteer base, and a lot of us kind of stepped back during COVID, but it's time to re-engage. It's time to step forward and find our ways to not just help our neighbors, but help all sorts of different areas within our community. For me, I like doing that through Rotary because I can get involved with so many different, in so many different aspects, from helping out with the youth, seniors, water security projects internationally. There's just so much that I can do through one organization that's why I put my passion and my time into Rotary.
I know that you've looked at how other communities in other parts of the country, similar-sized communities, approach recruiting. But I know you told us not too long ago that now other communities are looking to Yarmouth, chatting with you. That must make you feel pretty good.
It does. It does feel good. In terms of being, I wouldn't say a leader, but maybe we're certainly at the forefront of some of the recruitment activity. Not only is it nice to see the positive results of that, we are getting ahead. It's going to be a long slog and a long road, but we're moving forward. I can certainly say that from the last conference that I was at, which was our first one in person in over 2 years, I can definitely say that a lot of communities are in exactly the same position, but we have some very unique advantages, which now I have a better perspective in terms of how to leverage those advantages to our favor. And there was a lot of buzz and a lot of questions and a lot of taking notes from other communities, not only within the province but across the country, in terms of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I have a fantastic partnership which is comprised of stakeholders and leaders within the medical community as well as in the community at large. And so they help guide our activities. And I think it's the leadership within that partnership and the associations in the community with Rotary and with a number of other organizations that help guide the recruitment direction overall. And they, if I have something that needs to get done, usually within a couple phone calls, I can make that happen. And that's really fantastic. So although it may seem like my role as navigator in terms of recruitment is key, it's actually not. I'm just the face of what the entire community has come together to make happen. And if that's setting the example as a leader within other rural communities, then that's fantastic.
The draws to an event like the Spring Living Show are the vendors and the expert presentations. So Gary caught up with Anne LeBlanc, the education coordinator for WasteCheck, after her presentation on littering.
One of the many presenters and organizations at the recent Spring Living Show was WasteCheck. Now, of course, WasteCheck is the region's solid waste coordinator. Anne LeBlanc has a big job. She is the education coordinator for Waste Check. You know, and there are laws in place, there are bylaws in place, fines in place, but it's all about education. Give us your take since you've been doing it. How is that going? And tell us your approach, because I know at one point, certainly pre-COVID, you were in the schools, you were everywhere. So now that we're gradually out of COVID, what's taking place with Waste Check's education?
Well, now that we've moved away from COVID, and we're going to be able to, get back into the schools and educate with the kids. We're going to be able to go to the community groups. We're going to be able to attend these shows and be able to speak with residents. And we hear what is their issues also, but they're listening to us. So and that's a fantastic thing. Like, we've seen a huge explosion in interest in litter in the last couple of years with COVID, because people were looking for things to do, right? And I think people were just noticing how much litter there actually was in their communities, and they went out and they've cleaned up and they're proud of what they're doing. So we want to build on that momentum, and it's educating them too. Like, how does the litter get there? We got to look at it and say, yes, there's people that are dumping the litter, but where is it really coming from? Is it coming from flying off the back of a truck unintentionally because it wasn't secured properly? Is it falling out of the car when you open the door because the wind blows it off and you don't notice? Is it a 5-year-old child that you say, okay, now put your candy wrapper in your pocket, and they miss their pocket? Let's be honest, they're 5 years old, and it ends up on the ground. So we can't blame all the litter on people or just throwing it on the ground. That's not, the reality of it. We do have people who litter on purpose, and, we got to educate them and tell them what they're doing to the environment, and get them to understand that we have in our communities the facilities to dispose of this. And we're also seeing a lot of illegal dumping in our area. And what happens and how that ties into litter and is that when you dump illegally, you're dumping food often mixed with paper, mixed with plastics, just everything. People who are dumping illegally aren't interested in sorting their garbage. They're just interested in getting rid of their garbage. Then that attracts animals. Right? So those animals, they're finding tasty treats in there, and they're dragging off the paper and the plastic to another area, right? So we got to educate people. You can't do this, because then this brings the litter over to the shores. It brings it into our forests. It's making our animals sick. It's contaminating soil. People are dumping hazardous materials such as paints and oils. So that's going to affect the ground soil and the plant life. So really, education, it really is a huge part of what we need to do and what we do at Waste Check, through these presentations in the community, through the schools, and it's been amazing the response we get from our people here in Yarmouth.
We've got such a beautiful province here, and that's the focus of your message here. Is we're looking at your presentation. Nova Scotia, this is no place to litter, and that's true. And it just shocks me, and I'm sure all of you at Waste Check, when we see pictures posted by some of the Waste Check staff or others of these dump sites that you're referring to. I mean, everything, including the kitchen sink, refrigerator, large. It's amazing. Do you ever have an opportunity to educate? You come across with people who have, I used to dump that stuff. You ever have a chance to talk to them?
I haven't had that chance personally. Richie Nickerson, our bylaw officer, is often the one who goes and speaks with the residents in regards to illegal dumping. He educates them on the impact of illegal dumping, and often, he has an amazing way of connecting with our residents, and he often has them agree to clean up their illegal dump. So, we don't want to go and punish, we want to educate. So, and I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah.
I know in talking with you folks in the past that it's the children, and the younger you can get that message out, because they go home and talk to the parents, and sometimes they'll shame the parents. Hey mom, hey dad, you know, pick that up, and so you must get a lot of positive feedback from that angle.
I love working with our schools. Our P to 6 is really where we're starting with them and teaching them about sorting. We're teaching them about what happens when you sort with your garbage, right? What goes to landfill? What gets made into something new? What where it ends up. What we're really looking at, what I'm really interested in working is the 7, 8s, and 9s, because these are the kids that for 20, well, I mean, the program's been in place for 20 years, right? So if you get a 12, 13, 14-year-old, they grew up with the reduce, reuse, recycle message from Waste Check in the schools, but now they're learning personal responsibility. They are more aware of themselves, more aware of the environment, more aware of their community and their place in it, right? So now is the time, I think, at 7, 8, 9 to have those important conversations with these young adults and say, okay, you've heard me say reduce, reuse, recycle. Why? Let me show you what you can do. Let me show you how important it is that you do this. And it doesn't have to be on this grand scale. It's everyday actions that are going to make a difference going forward. Yeah.
I know that over the past few years, Waste Check has really embraced, Facebook, for instance, social media, and in trying to increase the education, things like what goes where, and if people are starting to engage with you. Are they saying, getting in touch, where does this lid go? Because they want to do the right thing. Are you finding that you're getting some really good feedback from that online presentation?
Yes, we're really lucky to have an excellent, our program director, Nicole, is one who does like 95% of our Facebook. She has amazing ideas and incredible knowledge and experience in the industry. So she's really getting people to engage with us. And we see it on the reach that some of our posts are getting. We're reaching sometimes some of our posts up towards 10,000 people. So it's really amazing that people are hearing our message, they're sharing our message, and it's getting out there. So.
Can you tell us if I can use the term partnership, that you have with Divert Nova Scotia?
So Divert Nova Scotia is a not-for-profit. Well, I wouldn't say not-for-profit, but they run our bottle depots. So, and our relationship that I have personally with them is, as an educator, money that when you return your refundables, so if you return a can, you get 5 cents back from the 10 cents you paid. That other 5 cents goes towards funding education program. It goes towards funding positions like mine as a waste educator, and it goes back into the communities in regards to, they develop a lot of our programming for education for in the schools. They develop stewardship programs, such as the tire return program, where in the province of Nova Scotia, if you have 4 tires off the rims, you can bring them back free of charge to any cars, anywhere that sells tires, basically. So they're working really hard to have these programs in place to ensure that, the end of life of these items don't end up in the landfill or in the environment. And anyone who's really interested to see what Divert Nova Scotia does for us here in Nova Scotia can visit their website at divertns.ca. They've actually done a huge roadside litter audit in 2021 with Dillon Consulting. The whole report is there. It is absolutely fascinating. And there's also, they talk about the behavioral side of littering. So
It really is simple. to not litter, isn't it? I mean, we've got everything in place, particularly when Waste Check came online some years ago, and we saw some really positive numbers for many years. I mean, Nova Scotia was a leader, and I think probably we still are. I'm sure we are. There's information there through Waste Check, Divert Nova Scotia, and it's not hard. It's so easy not to litter and to do things right at home, isn't it?
It is easy. We have sort guys. We have a hotline that anyone can call. I don't have the toll-free number off by heart, but in the Yarmouth area or local Yarmouth, it's 902-742-1312. Or you can even email us at info@wastecheck.ca. Someone will answer your email. Someone will answer your call. We will make sure that you get the information that you need. We will make sure you get the resources that you need, and you're going to get the education that you need from our staff.
And I know WasteCheck always likes to give a shout out to I don't know how many volunteers out there in all these communities, whether it's beach cleanups or along the side of the road. That's amazing dedication.
It is amazing dedication. Like if I were to pick out for one person, Divert Nova Scotia does every year recognize champions of the environment, basically. And we have our very own Tim McKinnon here in Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, that goes out and picks up litter, and he's posting it on Facebook, and he's never blaming anyone. He has such an amazing, positive attitude. This is, he's really a hometown hero. He does so much for our community. Sorry, Mobius, that's another way that Divert helps in our region. And we actually have to be really, really proud of the work that our residents are doing here. Not just through like Gordon Watkins, through Scotian Shores. A lot of our residents are going out, they're cleaning up the side of the road, they're not asking for recognition, but we need to recognize that we do have residents that are that involved.
Well, listen, to you and everyone at WasteCheck, keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure speaking with you here today.
Tracy Otten, the Executive Assistant for the Yarmouth and Area Chamber of Commerce, was on hand to help inform the visitors about the Southwest Nova gift card.
Tracy, tell us about this Southwest Nova gift card.
Well, it's a program that we're putting on to help local businesses around Yarmouth and surrounding area. So what businesses do is they sign up under this umbrella for gift cards, and those people that don't know what to buy, family members and friends, because they don't know where to buy it from, they can buy one gift card from us, and then we have a list of local businesses that have signed under the program that they can use the gift card and shop at.
And if somebody new comes along and signs up after I've picked up my card, I can use it there too, right?
Yes, so we just launched it on Monday. We have some local businesses signed up already, and the list will just grow from here.
So give us an idea of who's on the list.
Well, we have for restaurants, we have Gaia Globa Kitchen, Honeybee's Deli, Jungle Gyms, Dooley's, Heritage Brewing, Canadian Tire, Pet Value, True by Hilton in Yarmouth, Carl's Store, Sunrise Printing, City Drugstore. So those are just a few of the many that are going to be coming down the list.
So Tracy, if somebody's looking to get one of these, how do they get them?
You can just call our office Monday through Friday to purchase a gift card and come in. And this is also going to be available online.
As we toured the floor and stopped at the booths of over 50 vendors, Quinn took an opportunity to chat with Isaac Pennell. He's the manager of Ye Old Stove Shop, about Quinn's favorite summertime activity, barbecue.
Now, you guys don't just sell stoves. Barbecues is another big hit item. And with the pandemic, people have been home, they've been cooking a lot more. So when it comes to barbecues, what sort of different fuel sources are there available?
So most popular right now would be pellet. We have the Traeger, Green Mountain Grills, Pit Boss. Those seem to be on the rise since COVID started, I guess. They've been quite popular, but down true to our roots, we started with the green egg, and that's still a popular item as well. That's pure charcoal, and we do got propane as well. But yeah, it's basically pellet and charcoal nowadays. It seems to be people going back to that true barbecue, I guess, where you're getting the flavor, not just cooking your food with heat.
So when it comes to reliability as far as temperature control goes, is there one that's favored over the others?
They all vary a little bit. Like Traeger's supposed to be 5 degrees plus or minus from your set point. That can all vary when you open your lid. It goes up. Try and compensate. Between that and the Green Mountain, they seem to be quite consistent. The Pit Boss seems to be a wider range, can be up to 15 degrees plus, but they still come out tasting great.
When you're talking about the traditional charcoal, which is what I grew up with the hibachi out on the back deck and so on, that's an investment in time and effort. But if people are really on the quick, if they're just coming home from work and they want to fire up the queue, is propane really the way to go?
Yes and no. I mean, propane is quick that way, but pellet can be just as quick because, propane, you do got to start it. You go inside, get your food, come back out. You might be 5-10 minutes. With a pellet, within 10 minutes, you can be at your set point to whatever it is, and all you got to do is click it on, set your temp, and walk away. Charcoal takes more effort, but you can have your temp up within 10 degrees as well.
What about maintenance? What's the preferred maintenance activities by the type?
So pellet does require more maintenance than the other ones. It does function as a pellet stove in theory, so you do have ash and stuff that does sit in the bottom of the grill, which you do have to vacuum out periodically. Depending on the grill, they do have different intervals. Might be per bag, per 3 bags, because any moisture that comes in and sits on that ash will rot out the bottom of your grill. But you keep your maintenance up, they'll last quite a long time because we have customers coming into our shop they've had a Traeger since the early 2000s, and they're still using the same original one.
What about parts and maintenance? I bought a barbecue once and it was really nice, and then when I went to go get parts, come to find out, I can't get parts in Canada. I had to order it from the States, and the shipping was just as much as the part was. I was kind of disappointed, but I really liked the barbecue, so I didn't have much choice there. But, now that I'm in the market and I've been researching barbecues for like the last 3 years, I just haven't dropped the hammer on it yet. So in a situation like that, what is it like for parts and maintenance?
As far as parts go, we can usually get them quite quick. Pit Boss, we haven't had to do any parts on those yet. We only started selling them last year. The Green Mountain, we've done them 2 years. We've changed a couple of boards under warranty, and that was it. Traeger's the one that has been around the longest, so there are people that coming in that have had them for quite a few years. We've sold Traegers for 4 years now, and we have replaced the odd part. But they do have a really good customer service aspect to their company. So you call them in, and they'll send and ship a part out. Might be a week, might be 2 weeks, but they're quite quick that way. No real shortage per se as some items.
So for somebody like myself who's barbecued primarily on propane for a number of years, what's the learning curve like if I was going to go with a pellet or a green egg?
There's, yes, a bit of a learning curve, but it all comes down to your temperature, really. So certain people don't like that smoke flavor. So basically you're just cooking at a hotter temperature, because the hotter you cook, the less smoke you're going to have in your food. The lower temperature, you are going to have a smokier flavor. So when it comes to a learning curve, there is more work to it, but we find that, same with our customers, they might have only cooked maybe 3 or 4 different things on their barbecue that was propane, but now that they have charcoal or pellet, they can cook anything. They might switch to a full-on barbecue mode during the summer, and anything from cakes to bread to your traditional burgers and whatnot. So
I was going to ask, what's the funkiest thing you've cooked on your queue?
The funkiest thing I've cooked, it's a good question. I have done pies on them, which I made one too smoky, but one came out quite good. You could taste a hint of it, but it was apple. So, yeah, and I cooked that on my green eggs. That's what I own at home.
And you've got coffee cake here today.
We do, yes. Terrence, another employee from the stove shop. So he's been doing these coffee cakes for quite a while. He just purchased a Traeger probably about maybe 3 weeks ago, and he's probably put out about 5 or 6 of these things so far. So he's getting pretty good at it.
So if somebody's looking to do some research and want to have a look at these, where can they find you?
They can find us in Dayton. So we're just 2 buildings over from Doug Thistle Hyundai, next to Family First Medical, and I guess that's also across from Dayton Fruit and Vegetables, so we're not hard to find.
And they can find you on social media, of course.
Yes, we have a Facebook page that I've been trying to post more on recently. We do have a website as well that's not really up to date. We do have to get that going, but our social media is the best place to see us online.
As the second day of the event wound down, Rick Allwright of Mile East Productions gave us a bit of an update.
This has been a great show so far, and basically what we've expected. It's been great to get back doing this show and getting back to somewhat of normalcy. So yeah, it's been good, very good so far. The kind of numbers we're expecting too. So yeah.
It seems from the people, we've been out here for a couple of days, Quinn and I, and people are really glad to get out. You know, they've had that 2-year shutdown, and now they can get out and see the displays, talk to people, see their friends and family. It's a real social event as well, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely, and it very much does come down to being that social event. There, a lot of these people haven't seen each other in quite some time at this point. So, and even before COVID, it was still that social opportunity to get out and see people that you may not have seen in a while, and talk to the exhibitors and figure out what they want to do and just get some of that basic information. Yeah.
And there's a stage set up here. Folks like Waste Check and others have been doing their presentations. They seem to be fairly popular. Just another venue for folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we work with some of our exhibitors to put on different workshops and stage presentations, and bring in other experts from away to just give some insight and make it more of an attraction to come here and share their knowledge. We had a couple of presentations so far today from Jennifer Spencer about homesteading, and Hans about landscape architecture. So, and he's a brand new business to the area, so we like to support them too. So, yeah, absolutely. It's been, and we have more to come. So, yeah.
And you've got local vendors here as well as folks from away. So obviously that's a success in that way.
Yeah, and we've had vendors come from away since the start of it, and it's always been a great success. And just they trust us and to bring out the crowds. And we had one of our exhibitors say it's one of the best organized shows they ever go to. So and it's why they keep coming back. So yeah, so it's great to have those exhibitors as well, and support the local market as well. Yeah.
And I suppose you and Candace and the other crew already are thinking how to do things a bit differently next year, change it up. I know that's an important part of any kind of event on an annual basis.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely go through that process of more or less continuous improvement to determine how to make it better every year. And this is the first year back since COVID, so we're trying to figure out how to keep building it from this point forward. So definitely be looking to expand back to the second arena next year and bring back even more exhibitors. So yeah, absolutely.
So I suppose, like I said, we're halfway through second day. You've got Sunday to go, and then I suppose it's tearing down, and that's putting it up and tearing it down.
Yeah, exactly. It's tear down always goes fast and furious. It's we close at 3 p.m. on Sunday, and basically by 5 o'clock, everyone will be out of here. It's a very, very fast process. It's fast and furious, that's for sure. It's always surprising. Yeah.
Rick Allwright, Mile East Productions, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out and supporting the show and doing everything that you do for the community.
We caught up with MLA for Argyle, Colton LeBlanc, visiting the show and doing some shopping.
So we've run into Colton LeBlanc, MLA for Argyle. Colton, it's nice to come out and actually do something quote-unquote normal at the Spring Living Show.
That's right. It's great to see so many folks, over the weekend here to take part in one of the first, major events for our area, and see what our local businesses and organizations have to show, and of course support them at the same time.
Were you on the lookout for something like a hot tub or a zero-turn mower?
I already got a mower, and I actually had the chance to use it on the weekend here, so I'm all set in that fashion. But of course, lots of good things to see and explore, and perhaps keep in the back pocket for future purchase in one of these days.
So one of shows like this, I mean, we have typically had 3 or 4 of these in a run of a year: the Fisheries Expo, the Spring Living Show, and so on. How important are they to the local economy, and obviously to us as a morale booster over the last couple of years of not being able to get out and do anything?
We know the importance of our small and medium and of course large businesses for our rural economy. So to have the opportunity to chat with them firsthand, and for residents of southwestern Nova Scotia to see and to chat with the staff and the owners firsthand is certainly brings some value to our community. And at the same time, supporting the Mariner Center. It's a wonderful piece of infrastructure that we have in our region. And of course, as you noted, Quinn, is a little bit of normalcy after more than 2 years of the pandemic, and so understanding that people have different levels of comfortability currently at this time. It's nice to see the crowds out and at the same time balancing their comfortability with the pandemic.
The reach of the show itself was pretty good. It wasn't just Yarmouth. There was businesses from all over.
That's right. There was some folks, I know is still fired up in Lakeele way. That always, get some attention at their booth, of course, and others, and even some of, notice some of the programs that we promote here, promote at my constituency office, the home warming program, which is a great program, and I had the opportunity to chat with them, and they've changed their household thresholds, which is good and interesting. So perhaps folks that may not have been able to qualify previously should look at those thresholds. I don't know them off the top of my head, and then others, and we've seen folks that hot tub companies, and did the zero turns, and then others, the landscape architects, and some of our local distilleries, of course, as well. And I think what you've seen over the last few years is the barbecue world has sort of exploded, and the outdoor kitchens have certainly grown. So taking a keen interest of some of the products that they had there as well.
Jason Ellis, sales manager for Little Chevrolet, was on hand with a couple of vehicles for demo purposes and spoke with us about COVID and supply chain issues in the automotive industry.
The last couple of years have been a little funky when it comes to automobiles. A lot of empty lots, a lot of supply chain issues. But how have you guys pivoted and been able to serve your community?
Well, we've found ways to essentially sell paper. We either pre-order vehicles for people or sell them before they get to the lot. So we're still selling an amazing amount of vehicles, 30 plus a month, new vehicles, but you just don't see them on the lot anymore. So it's a change, but it's not all bad.
So if I order a car, and I mean I'm a tactile guy, so I like to sit in it. I wiggle in the seat and make sure it's comfortable for the long haul and whatever. But if I order something and it comes in and it's not quite right, what are my options?
Well, we're not going to hold you to it. We don't want any upset customers, so we'll have 10 people lined up to buy that vehicle if you don't want it. So that's the I guess the good part about it. It is unfortunate that there are people who like to touch, feel, and try things out before, but we'll see those people in a couple of years when our lot fills up again.
So how do you see the evolution of electric vehicles as it pertains to Chevrolet?
So that's electric vehicles. We're a couple of years away from seeing any EVs on our lot, but that's going to change the auto industry. It's going to change a lot of things. The infrastructure, in my opinion, is not there in Nova Scotia yet. So in the next couple of years, you'll see a lot of EV stations being put up, charging stations all around. But it definitely will be a big shift.
As you know, our weather can be quite unpredictable. So what's an EV car like in colder weather?
Well, they do a lot of testing, obviously, before they put these vehicles out. I do know the Hummer EV, which will be one of our first EVs, has been tested extensively in Alaska, so in a lot colder climates than here, and they claim that it's good to go and ready for the road.
What sort of modifications do I need to make to my house in order to be able to do it? If I got to do a 220 outlet in order to be able to charge my car?
You're probably going to have to spend about $2,000 to essentially put a charger in your house if you want any type of speed to your charging. As far as the electrical work that needs to be done, I'm not an expert on that, but I've been told it's around $2,000 worth of upgrades to get your house ready to go.
And What's the return on investment that way? I mean, certainly we've been seeing gasoline prices skyrocket. We're now at almost $2 a liter. So, at what point is the tipping point between the cost, related to purchasing an EV plus the mods to the house and so on, in order to be able to see a return?
I think we're a long ways away from actually seeing a return when purchasing an EV. Gas prices aren't going to be $2 a liter forever. They will go back down eventually. Uh, there is a premium to buying an EV for sure, but when you look at the positive impacts on the environment, if you take that into consideration, that's a big deal for a lot of people, and I think that that will push a lot of the early adopters. When the electric vehicles come out with any type of range, they'll sell very quickly.
So what you think about? Oh, what happens if I get caught in a traffic jam or I'm in a construction zone? What kind of options are available for you that way so that you don't just end up dead on the side of the road?
Well, unfortunately, right now you're still going to have to do some planning as far as when you make a longer trip, or if your vehicle's not charged to what it should be before you make your trip. It's kind of it's going to be like the olden days for some people. I think you're going to have to really plan things out and make a lot of extra stops, and it'll be different for a while. But as the technology improves and range improves, those issues and the infrastructure improves, those issues should diminish a little bit.
So are we skipping the hybrid models altogether and going straight from gas to EV?
As far as General Motors goes, yes. GM did the hybrids a few years back with limited success. They put their focus now going forward onto full EV vehicles, and I think that's the way to go.
So going forward, do you foresee that the supply chain issues that you've been having and the whole auto industry has been having, lack of chips, et cetera, keeping you down for quite a while, or do you think things will kind of percolate back up?
I think this is going to be like this until 2025 at least. Right now let's say we sell 30 new vehicles in a month. We could be selling 50, so we need to get, so even when we get 50 new vehicles in, our lot's still going to be bare. North America is a massive market to refill, and this is a long-term, I'd say problem, but it's not a problem because the vehicles are still selling, but it's a big process to refill all the lots in North America.
Has the pricing of vehicles been as volatile as, say, the housing market?
As far as used vehicles go, yes. Used vehicles right now are up 38% over the previous year. So essentially, we're giving customers refunds on their brand new vehicle purchase when they come back with a vehicle a year later with 30,000 kilometers on it, for example. So it's very interesting. You have to watch it from a dealership perspective, sales manager perspective. I need to keep an eye on it every day. I need to watch the U.S. dollar. I need to watch. There's a bunch of variables there just to make sure that things don't drop, and you could get yourself in a mess pretty quick.
Personally, I find a vehicle as a tool. It's something to get me from point A to point B. So other than having a comfortable seat and a decent ride, and that I can go to Halifax and back and not have to hobble for a week afterwards, for me that's a bonus. But what other features, are people looking for in a vehicle that may be just a bit out of what we consider to be the normal? As an example, when I bought my car, it had heated seats, and I thought, really, do I really need heated seats? Oh, I love the heated seats. So what else are you seeing as far as options go that may be a little out of the way for people?
The biggest change I've seen in the past 2 years for sure is infotainment in your vehicles. So we have our new Chevy Trail Boss here, and it has a Google radio in it. So essentially it's powered by Google, and you can say, hey Google, turn my volume down or turn my heat up. Those are the things that are becoming more important to people. They want their vehicle to act like their phone. So it's very interesting, and it's hard to keep up with, but we're doing a great job at it.
Do you find that maybe some of those additional options are a bit distracting to the drivers?
Without a doubt, it's they can be a distraction. There's lots of warnings that come up before you actually start your vehicle now, saying that it is a distraction. But hopefully people do use those features safely.
But traveling with kids, I mean, you know, when I was younger, your entertainment was the side window. That was it. You look out the window and that's it for the trip. But now, I mean, geez, you got DVD, you've got infotainment, you've got Wi-Fi hotspots. It's all there to kind of keep everybody entertained.
It is. It certainly. I'm sure it makes the trip to Halifax a lot quieter for people with small children and families. You can do anything in your vehicle now. Like you said, there's Wi-Fi hotspots, and the infotainment systems are simply amazing. So it's changed a lot.
What about the evolution of safety features? I mean, obviously, if I have a family and I'm traveling, I'd like to make sure that if we did end up in a collision, that we're all going to be able to walk away.
Yeah, I mean, with General Motors, we've had OnStar in our vehicles for 20 years. So if you get in an accident in a GM vehicle, the proper people are notified, and they're extremely safe.
What about theft protection? Because I've seen a few stories online and even on mainstream media about the wireless controllers and so on, being able to mimic those and be able to just wander up to my car and walk away with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that stuff gets developed really quickly, and there's theft deterrent features in every vehicle, and they update those regularly. But yeah, there's some smart people out there that can figure out ways to get around them.
But that's also another advantage of OnStar.
That's right. OnStar, if your vehicle gets stolen, it can be tracked by the authorities, and you've seen that, I'm sure, in the media. There's been a report, or there's been on TV. You can watch it happen live that a vehicle with OnStar gets tracked. I'm being heckled here in the background, but yeah, it's there's some awesome features in GM vehicles and vehicles by other manufacturers as well.
So if anybody's interested in browsing, I mean, certainly the internet is a wonderful place to go, and you can kind of build your own vehicle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if anybody wants to reach out to you at Little Chevrolet, how's the best way to do that?
Well, you can always give me a call at 902-742-7191, or my email's jason@littlechevrolet.ca, or just stop in and see me at the store. I love sitting down and chatting with people. We can build a vehicle live on the website, and you can see exactly what it's going to look like. And if you're lucky enough, we do have a shipment come in. Sometimes you're able to touch and feel another customer's vehicle before they get to it. Then you'll be lucky that way.
After taking a short break from the weekend, Candice Phibbs of Mile East Productions gave us a recap and some of the takeaways from this year's show.
Candice, how did the show go? I mean, you've had a little bit of time to decompress and kind of think about things, but seemed like there was some pretty steady crowds.
Yeah, overall, it was a really good weekend and lots of positive comments coming back after throughout and after the doors closed as well. We certainly weren't anticipating hitting pre-COVID numbers, but exhibitors are happy, and we're happy with the show we put together.
So what did you learn from the event, being that you've done this pre-COVID and now technically post-COVID? What are your takeaways from the show that you're going to be able to use for next time around?
Definitely people are happy to have events back, and people were happy to have the chance to have those conversations. So even though there is still some of that, I'll call it fear, I guess, in the community, COVID is still with us. Overall, those who are coming out are really glad to have that social aspect of their life back. Going forward, I think it's making sure we take into account that we're reaching people with a message on how we are still keeping things safe as events go. You know, we had an arena full, but it didn't ever feel jam-packed like you might have felt in the past. There was a natural flow through the arena. We had sanitizer available. People could wear masks if they felt comfortable. And it's just learning to adapt and keep those things in mind for those people who aren't quite ready for what we had before.
Now, Gary and I, of course, had an opportunity to kind of chat with a few of the exhibitors and take in a couple of the presentations. What sort of feedback are you getting back from the vendors and the presenters?
The presenters had a great time. They were really happy to be able to come out. And again, the crowds for the presentations weren't always huge, but they were on par with levels that we anticipated for them. So they were pleased, and they had a more chance to interact with those who were watching the presentations. And again, several exhibitors still had strong sales this year. And I don't think any of them were coming in expecting to have sales like they had in 2018, 2019. But they had those great conversations. They got some great leads, and they're really pleased that down the road, their name is out there, and those leads or those conversations are going to lead to a sale in the future.
So what's the next major public event for Mile East Productions this summer?
Public events, we are working with the Rotary Club once again on Rib Fest. That's coming up in July. So that's going to be really exciting to have that event back again after a 2-year break. And otherwise, until about the fall, we're working on just some proms, weddings, and some smaller end stuff with some committees. We've got our walking tours coming back this summer as well. Actually did my first tour Monday night. A little fatigued from the show, but it was great to have that back. And of course, hearing news of cruise ships coming in this year. So
Excellent. Well, we certainly look forward to catching up on Rib Fest and then any other events you might have coming up in the fall.
yeah, we're really, really looking forward to starting to plan, and I think you can anticipate seeing some really good events and some favorite events coming back in 2023 from Mile East Productions.
Now, I don't know about you, Gary, but it was really nice getting out and about and actually doing something relatively normal, given all the recent couple of years worth of COVID restrictions. So, how did you feel about going out and doing stuff in the field?
Yeah, that 2-year COVID shutdown, that's been hard on a lot of people I know. And, I can't thank you enough for taking me out there. It was great to see so many people that we hadn't seen for a long time. And like you say, just to get out and get back to some normalcy.
Well, and the crowds were steady, but they weren't packed. Like things weren't shoulder to shoulder, which was nice. But some people were wearing masks, other people weren't. So I guess it's just going to take a little bit before people are a little bit more comfortable in being able to get out. But there's a lot more festivals to happen this summer and a lot more events for us to take in. So our listeners can stay tuned and hear all about them.
I think if anything, people now really appreciate what they had before. We as humans, we take things for granted. And for 2 years, we lost a lot of our freedom to keep everyone safe. And now people are realizing, wow, we had a lot of freedoms, and we're very lucky to be able to get out and about as we can now.
Indeed.
I'm Gary Nickerson.
And I'm Quinn Taggart.
And this has been Outside My Window.